Hello everyone and welcome back to lesson 8 of your year of tarot. Today we are going over the suit of pentacles. We are doing the 1 to 10 pentacles of the suit of earth. So get comfy, get cozy, get your deck and let's learn some tarot. I once again have my notes. Editing last video was so difficult because no matter how much I try to stay on track, I don't. I think I have to just accept that every edit is going to be difficult because I like to talk. We are in the suit of pentacles today. Sometimes this suit in different decks will be coins or stones, shells, leaves, anything kind of earthy. Also, we're in the suit of earth. So when we're looking at earth, we are looking at the material world, the things that we can like touch, see and feel, and our relationship to those things. So health, career, money, stability, home, family in the sense of home, but not in the sense of relationships. That kind of goes more into water. We're going to use the same method that we have done in the last lesson, which is we're going to look at the main elements, then we're going to look at the nuance, which is more discussion based. We're going to see what questions arise, and then from that we will derive the meaning upright and reversed of every card. Let's get straight into it. Beginning at the beginning with the Ace of Pentacles. Our ace, as number 1, is unity, beginnings and potential. It's also the main embodiment of the element of earth. So it's the biggest themes of the earth element kind of amplified. So home, career, health, stability. Let's pick out the main elements that we can see in this card. So we've got a hand coming from the sky. It's gently cradling a coin. It's not grabbing at it. There's a very lush and verdant garden. There's an archway, and out in the distance you can see mountains, and there's light emanating from around the pentacle. So what does this tell us? Let's look at the nuance of this card. If we start at the bottom of this card, we are looking at this lush garden and an archway. Now the archway's got a path running up to it and seems to be going out into the wilds, into the mountains. So the idea is that we are in the garden right now. We are in this kind of safe, secluded, but very natural and comfortable place. And if we were to go through this archway, we would start on some kind of journey out into the wilds, new possibilities, new opportunities. But the mountains tell us that this is going to be a long journey and a slow journey. It's not a lot of running and rushing. There's purposefulness and there's taking your time behind it. As we move up the card, we've got the hand. So the hand is presenting. It's not grabbing, it's not taking, it's giving. And the pentacle at the top is our main signifier of the element. We have the light emanating from the bottom of the hand, and the bright daylighty kind of sky gives the implication that the light of the day is coming from the pentacle. So this is boundless, beautiful opportunities. So what questions come up from this card? Well, not that much. It's offering us an opportunity. I guess the main question is, where does the pathway lead? What's the new journey going to look like for you? Upright, this card symbolises opportunity. It's the safety and security and the stability that comes from the earth element. But it doesn't just happen, it does come with work and it does come with a journey. It represents having health, having financial stability, having a career, feeling stable within yourself. When we reverse this card, it looks like the coin is about to fall. It looks like the hand is being dropped. This speaks of a missed opportunity. Particularly, it's read around kind of career and investments, but it can mean about taking a chance with, maybe you were offered a job and you didn't take it. When this card is read in the context of health and reversed, it talks about illness, so stress or strain. Let's go on to the Two of Pentacles. The twos you'll remember from our numerology lesson are balance, duality, cooperation, and decision making. Let's have a look at the main elements of this card. So there's actually quite a lot happening. So you've got the jester-like figure kind of dancing, balancing the two pentacles. The two pentacles are wrapped in this green ribbon, making an infinity symbol. Way off in the distance, there is a sea with very tall waves giving the illusion of movement, and there are two boats floating along it. So while it might seem fairly simple, there is a lot going on. There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of action in this card. So let's get into the nuance of it. The jester-like figure is dancing or juggling. The seas are very, very high. So all of this is indicating movement. And it seems genuinely quite joyful. It seems like at play. It seems like quite fun to be watching the boats in the distance. It seems like fun to be dancing and juggling. But holding the two pentacles is an infinity symbol. It seems to be the never-ending dance. It gives a sense of endlessness. Where the green is placed in this card is significant. So we've got green on the ribbon, and then we've got green on the shoes. So those are the main symbols of Earth. So if the figure is wearing all red, that's kind of like that fiery energy, that motivation, that constantly need to be working and doing. And then you've got the green of the shoes, the groundedness and the earth. This almost like slows down the movement slightly. If you've got the red on the sails of the ship, you've got the red on the character, giving the essence of a lot of movement. And then you've got the infinity symbol in green, slowing it down slightly. The movement doesn't stop, but it adds a steadiness and an endlessness to this. The ships on the waves give the sense of adventure, of chase, and it all doubles down on this feeling of play and this idea of play. So what questions arise from this card? What does he juggling? What do the pentacles actually symbolize? What part of the earth element? Is it family part? Is it the home part? Is it the career part? Where are the ships going? What is this adventure that they're going on? Where are they going to? It all gives the idea that something is on the horizon. Something is kind of there, but it's not exactly clear yet. Upright, this card talks about cycles. That constant ebb and flow of resources in and out. Remember in the earth element that we're talking about the material world, the things that we can touch, see and feel, and our resources are our time, our energy, finances, those things that we have to spend to get through the day. They're not always tangible, but it talks about that ebb and flow of resources and how we use them. We constantly go through these cycles. We gain, we lose, we gain again. But the joyfulness in this and the dance in this is an invitation to find play and to sink kind of back in, to understand and accept that these cycles are going to happen, but how can you have fun in them? When we reverse this card, the feeling changes, and it gives the feeling of slipping rather than dancing. It's a delicate balance between these two pentacles, and that balance has been overturned. Maybe we pulled all of our resources into one thing too strongly. Maybe we spent too much time on something, too much money on something, and something else has begun to fall. It's not a joyful dance anymore. It's a very stressful kind of juggle. This endlessness is starting to feel like a struggle. It's starting to feel like it's a detriment to us, rather than kind of a comforting knowing that we are continuing on these cycles. It's starting to make us feel trapped. Next, we're moving on to the Three of Pentacles. So the Three of Pentacles, if you remember from numerology, it's symbolizing expression, growth, learning, group dynamics. What are the main elements that we can see in this card? We've got three figures. All of them are with different clothing, which indicates a different role. We're in a church, or at the very least an incredibly ornate stone building. There are three pentacles carved into the archway, and there's darkness in the halls of the background. So what does this mean? What's the nuance in the card? So the three figures seem to be building something together. The different outfits suggest different roles, different levels of expertise. So the figure, let's start with the figure on the bench. He seems to be the artisan. the craftsman. As this building is made of a stone, we can assume he is a stonemason. The figure in red at the front is the apprentice. Now, he is holding what looks like the plans and discussing them with the figure at the back, which seems to be a monk. Gives the idea of a church. What they all seem to be doing is discussing or debating the plans of the project that they've all collaborated on together to work on. Each figure knows that they have a role to play. Each figure knows that they can learn from each other and work together to make something that is stable and strong, which is what the stone represents. The 3 pentacles carved into the stone at the top represent the longevity of this project. This collaboration is something that will last, something that is strong. The background is this dark black, which are things that are yet to be uncovered or yet to be built. These are things that are kind of in the works in the background. It's a lot more internal. So what are the questions that come up with this card? Well, what are they building? What is it that they're creating? What are the individual strengths that these people have that mean that collaboratively they can make something strong and that's going to last, something that's important? How do these figures fit into their role? Were they comfortable there? Are they looking to try something else? What do they learn from each other? But when we reverse the card, instantly the black of the background looks a lot more menacing. It makes the scene feel far heavier. Maybe the goal is a lot further off than you thought. And 3, also being the number of group dynamics, can also indicate that this is a very uncomfortable group dynamic when it's reversed. Maybe there's conflict rather than compromise. Maybe ego is getting in the way. Maybe it's people trying to fight, say my ideas are the best, rather than trying to come up with a real collaborative project. And it gives us a sense that without these people coming together, this project is not going to last. I want to show you the 3 of Pentacles from the Druidcraft Tarot deck, because this is one that changes the meaning ever so slightly. In the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, we've got this collaborative card. In the Druidcraft Tarot, we've got one figure standing alone, who is the stonemason doing the carving. You've got a little cat that's kind of slinking up next to him. He's being looked on by 3 others. This gives the sense that the figure in front is giving instruction, and it kind of looks like these 2 are almost learning from him, the way that this one is separated ever so slightly. Is this figure being told what to create, or is he explaining what he's creating? He's at peace to an extent, and we know that because of the cat coming up and trying to kind of give love and say like, hey, I'm here. So it changes the feeling of this card. The collaboration in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is a lot easier to see than the collaboration in the Druidcraft Tarot deck, so it changes the feeling of it, and it feels almost like it leans more into the education side of this card, whereas this leans more into the collaboration side. 4 of Pentacles. This card is also one of those deceptively simple looking cards, but there's actually quite a lot happening. The numerology of the 4 is structure, stability, endurance, and long-term patterns. So let's look at the main elements of this card. You've got a figure that sits alone at the front in a crown in very fine clothing. You've got 4 pentacles, you've got 1 at the head, 2 at the feet, and 1 being cradled in his arms over his heart. And then behind them stretches out a large and very bustling town. So what's the nuance in this card? Well, the figure holds these pentacles in a very close and protective manner over their heart. It means a lot to them when they're holding it this close. It's something that they covet. They're dressed in finery, which speaks of material abundance. So the figure in this card has worked very hard for the gains that they have. They've reached a level of stability in their resources, they're feeling comfortable, and that's something that they're feeling very protective of. But this figure is also finding comfort in the material. They've removed themselves to go and sit alone and protect these resources. Maybe this figure feels like they can only rely on themselves and they can't rely on others for their own stability or to protect their resources. There is a fear of scarcity that lives kind of underneath this card. It's the need to protect these resources, these worried about losing everything that they've worked for. But it also speaks to a dependency on these resources. They've removed themselves from aspects of every other element So you haven't got people around you, so you haven't got relationships. There's no real motivation and drive. It feels like continuously carrying on the path to gain more, to have that stability, even if it doesn't feel necessarily right or aligned. There's no real air, there's no new projects, there's no ideas. This is, I've worked for this, I have this, and I will continue not to change anything, to shake the foundations in the fear that this might go away. They are relying on this material gain as a source of their happiness. They are forsaking all else, and it gives the feeling of materialism and hoarding. So what questions come up from this? Well, why did they remove themselves? As they're alone, what happened to their relationships when they did? Have they had time for relationships? Have they had time to build any kind of friendship or companionship outside of their material world? What is the fear behind the way they cradle this pentacle right in the middle? And what is in the town that makes them feel that they need to remove themselves? Is that where they gained their wealth, but they feel like they can't protect it there? Upright, this card is an indicator of plenty, of abundance, of working hard for your material gain. There's a stability in your own resources and your feelings around these resources. They've worked hard, largely off their own back, and there's a feeling of, oh, okay, I'll do it myself, that you can't rely on others to ensure your own stability. They also, by having one on their head, two at their feet, and one big one in their hands, this is more than they can hold. They have enough to give, enough to help someone else feel that stability. And it's making that choice, that contemplation of, am I going to use my material wealth, my material resources to help others, or am I going to keep it to myself? Sometimes there is a need to protect those resources, but there is also a time to feel a little bit of discomfort in order to help someone else. Reversed. Reversed, this card is a warning of excessive materialism, hoarding things so close to yourself that you leave other important things behind, namely the things in the other suits. Ambition, goals and ideas, relationships. This is holding so close to that earth element and the material that we're not letting the other elements in to help change our ideas and change our lives in expected ways. Yes, this is continuing the course, but you're sacrificing a lot of other things and remaining incredibly unbalanced to do so. Let's move on to the Five of Pentacles. So you'll remember from numerology, when we're looking at the five, we're looking at conflict, change, challenge, fluctuation, and I always called this the plot twist card. This is your dramatic change that is happening within the suit of Earth. What's the main elements in this card? Immediately you can see two figures. They are looking ill, injured, poor, kind of like downbeaten and downtrodden. They're walking past what appears to be a church with this bright and beautiful stained glass window, which implies that there are people inside, there are lights on, and they are walking through this just blizzard. There are 5 pentacles in the window of this stained glass church. There are people there, but these two figures are walking alone. A very stark change to our 4 of Pentacles. Let's look at the nuance in this card. Our two figures are walking alone, barefoot, bedraggled. We've got them in bandages. One figure is barefooted, the other one is on crutches. Their clothing looks very mismatched and torn, things they were kind of given or tried to salvage. The blizzard rages heavily. The figure on crutches seems to be looking up at the stained glass window. And that window is beautiful and ornate, and it cuts through the snow. You can see the light is on inside. There are people inside. So there are opportunities for these two to go and ask for help and ask for assistance, which leads us straight into the questions. Are they walking to or from this building? Have they been offered help, or would they even take it if they were? How did they come to this position? What was it that they lost? Upright, this card speaks very clearly of loss. The circumstances have changed greatly from the previous card. This loss could have been from anything: in health, in family, in career, in finances. It could have been a bad business decision. But when it's upright, it gives the feeling that they're walking away from the church. So it speaks to pride as well, that being too prideful to ask for help from others, even if you're in a dire situation. When it's reversed, yes, there's been loss, but it kind of doubles down on the idea that the figures are still moving. Yes, they're trudging through snow, but they are moving forward. They are still putting one foot in front of the other. Perhaps a new goal, perhaps a new motivation is on the horizon. But from the loss, you are learning something new about yourself, about what you're capable of, and where you want to go next. Perhaps these two figures are finally walking to the church to ask for help. I want to show you the 5 from the Handel Tarot deck. So this is my main reading deck. This is the deck I read for most people with. And 5 it's labelled as material difficulty. In the Handel deck, pentacles are stones. So the earth element is still very clear. This is one of the ways that it gets changed pretty commonly. The Handel Tarot deck is a lot more interpretive. So this, we can see 2 figures walking through the snow. It makes a lot more sense. But these are 5 of stones falling from the sky. So they give the idea that something was there, possibly a rock slide, and is falling down. You've got this stony forest in the background. That is what's symbolizing the new opportunity part of things. Yes, there's been difficulty. Yes, things are starting to fall, but it's a different feeling from this card. The upright meaning of this card almost feels closer to the reversed meaning of this card, that learning something new from it. That, yes, there's being a change, but where is it coming from? So you can see the same overall meaning, but the different vibe kind of changes how you would read these cards. We are on the 6 of Pentacles. When we are at the number 6, we are looking at harmony, commitment, alignment, and community. This is a very interesting card. I really like looking at the 6 of Pentacles. So let's pick out the main elements first. We've got one figure in the middle, stands in very fine clothing. They're holding scales and they are holding scales in one hand and giving coins with the other. There are 2 figures at the front. They are begging, they are asking for help, and there is a city in the background. They are surrounded by 6 pentacles. There is a lot of nuance in this card, and you could sit and unpick the 6 of Pentacles for hours. First thing to notice is how unbalanced this card is. You've got one central pentacle standing over the head of the main figure. You've got 3 pentacles over the figure in yellow at the back who is being given the coins, and you've got 2 pentacles over the figure in blue who has the scales above them. This is a deliberate choice. With a lot of even-numbered cards, you will see balance generally in different parts of the artwork, whereas this is very particularly and noticeably unbalanced. And what's really significant is what's in each of this main figure's hand. He is with one hand giving gold, giving away things that he has. It speaks of charity. But in the other hand, he is holding scales. These scales are the scales of justice. In tarot, generally, it links to the ones used by Anubis to weigh people's souls in the afterlife and to pass judgment. In Egyptian mythology, one's heart and soul, their actions and deeds were weighed up against a feather, and that would determine whether they moved on and had a peaceful afterlife or if their soul was consumed and they were cast into oblivion. These are also the same scales that merchants would use to weigh gold. So there's a lot of meaning in that. He purposefully with one hand gives and with another casts judgment. The 2 figures at the front, clearly poorer, more down on their luck, and they are out there asking for help. Tells us that these 2 individuals, these figures, have been cast out. What questions come up from this card? Well, who is this figure in relation to the other 2? How did they obtain such wealth? What are they choosing to do with it? And why do they feel they can hold the scales of judgment? Upright, this card speaks of the recognition that what you earn is to be shared with community, to be shared with others. This talks about giving, about charity. This is about saying that I have enough that I can help others. This is using what you've gained and what you've earned responsibly and using it to lift others up. When we reverse this card, it becomes a lot more about the scales and that hand. This is putting yourself in a position where you feel you can pass judgment on others. It speaks of that feeling of superiority. Your decisions make someone else feel powerless. You are the one that can decide whether someone is lifted up or put back down. And it's almost like reveling in that feeling of power. But this is toxic. This is a toxic form of power, to feel like you can cast judgment on someone else because of what you have and what they don't. Seven of Pentacles. The seven represents introspection, reflection, investigation. And from this card, you can see that this is quite a reflective kind of stance that this figure is holding. So let's get into the main elements. This is a gardener figure who's holding a rake, and they're kind of resting on it. Their hands are resting over the top, and they are looking at this large plant. On this plant, there are 6 of the 7 of Pentacles, and the 7th one is under his foot. There's a very dark brown landscape off in the background. Well, what does this mean? What's the nuance in this card? Well, this is a figure who clearly was the person to plant this, to grow it, and now they get to sit back and actually look at their work, look at the fruitfulness of their endeavours. This is someone who put in the work, and it was long and it was arduous, but now they can sit back and they can relax and they can see what has developed from all the time and the energy, all the resources they spent on it, what they have got back. This is also the time to harvest the fruits of this labour and of this endeavour. The brown background and landscape poses the question, is it that dark, deep, earthy brown of fertile land that's waiting to be cultivated? Or is it a kind of dark, dusty brown of what is barren? And that could be an indication of what was behind us or ahead of us. If it's barren, then it's we grew something from a place of nothingness. And if it's fertile, it's endless opportunity. So what questions come from this card? Well, firstly, about the background. Is it barren? Is it fertile? Was the slow growth of this plant worth it? The expression on the person's face is neutral. We can't tell what they're feeling. So it asks, what was your experience of this growth? What was your experience of this journey? Where will you go now? Upright, this card is kind of reaping what you sow. And that can be for better or for worse. The hard work is done. And it's time to have gratitude, maybe, for what you've grown. To sit back, to look at it, to really take it all in. The time and the energy you spent on this. This was slow progress. This was something that took you a lot of time. If it's to do with your health, it could have been overcoming an illness. It could have been learning a new physical skill or craft, learning a new hobby. It could have been a new job. But this is a time to step back and reflect on the journey that you've had. When we reverse this card, I immediately get the feeling of, was it worth it? It gives the idea that this is a time to analyze all of the resources that you spent on this project, the time, the energy, your health, finances, and ask yourself and analyze, was it worth it? Before trying to move on and trying to do something else, it asks you to take a pause and decide whether or not you want to kind of repeat this action or try something else. Now we've got the 8 of Pentacles. The 8s are achievement, perfection, power, authority, gratitude. So, main elements of this card. Well, we've got our 8 pentacles. 6 of them are kind of hung up along the side here. We have 1 on the ground, which is like the idea of a project that's just done. And we've got 1 that is actively being worked on. We have got our figure on the bench in the middle, working on building one of the pentacles. And you've got what looks like a castle or a village way off in the background. Well, what does this mean? Well, this is a master craftsman. This is them being good at their job. This is them working on their trade. This is something that they have been commissioned to do. All of the hanging pentacles tell us that this is something that they have repeated over a long period of time. This is a craft, a skill, a trade that they are good at. But they're good at it because of the dedication and the time and the effort they put into learning it. Because of this, they're the person that people come to for this. That is why the town is all the way off in the background. It gives the illusion that people are coming all the way out to this person to ask them to do their trade. But there's always that need to seek curiosity and to learn and to try and find something new. So, questions. Are they satisfied with their work? Is there a burden to being relied on so heavily? If you are the only person that people come to, have you got enough resources to maintain that? Is this figure still committed to learning and improving their trade? Upright, the 8 of Pentacles is that of the skillful artisan. It's someone that people come to because you are particularly skilled in a certain area. It could be that you are the person that people come to when they really need to talk or they need help with something. It could be that you are the person who's very good at a particular thing, so people often come to you for that. It's something that you've put time and dedication into learning. It's something that there's a lot of experience behind, something that through effort, through learning, you have become extremely good at, and people recognize you for that. But it's also continuously learning your craft or learning a new craft. It does speak of the continual cycle of learning and dedication that comes with doing something that you love. When we reverse this card, it's becoming disheartened, feeling that your efforts are pretty fruitless, feeling that you're not being rewarded for the amount of time and dedication that you've put into something. It then moves to apathy, to laziness. The thing that you loved, maybe you don't love anymore. Maybe you're feeling very thinly stretched because of the demands being placed on you. And it's leading to apathy and feeling disheartened with what you're doing. And that can be especially distressing if it was something that you were loving doing, but all of the demands on you or that kind of apathy that you're now feeling towards it is making it feel like a chore rather than a joy. Let's look at the Nine of Pentacles. It is a wonderful card. The nines represent nearing completion, abundance, attainment, and attunement. What are the main elements of this card? You have got a very elegantly dressed figure in a garden. They have got the pentacles, similar to the pentacles of the seven that are on the plants that have been grown through long and arduous effort. There are plenty of them now. There are much more of them all over the plants in the back of the card. It also leads back to that verdant garden in the Ace of Pentacles. This is a better view of it. That things that have been grown. This figure wears a long and luxurious robe, meaning that they're not working right now. They're not holding tools of their trade. They are holding a bird and they are gazing at them. And as an aside, there is a tiny little snail on the ground, which means moving slowly. What about the nuance? Well, firstly, this card is full of abundance. There is so much verdant, green, lush life. You've got the bird perched and relaxed. No one is fighting this. This is calm and peace. There's a building just off into the background. This is a connection with nature. This is sitting back and enjoying the fruitfulness of everything around you. It speaks to a calm, relaxed, and very full day. The main questions that arise from this card is, what did it take to get here? Yes, this is lovely and luxurious now, but what did it take to get here? What were the resources that were spent? And also, how does this figure feel deep down? And that question makes more sense when we get to the reversed meaning of this card. Upright, this is a card of abundance and beauty in life. This is where diligent, hard work and success, as we've seen through the last few cards, the 8 and the 7, have all come to fruition. This is something that has been worked for over a very long period of time, and now the figure can sit back and relax and enjoy the fruits of their labor. They can actually have a peaceful moment with all of the hard work that have been put in. They know and they're secure that nothing is going to fall if they rest. When we reverse this card, we add a level of uncertainty. When it's reversed, they are surrounded by the appearance of abundance. They're trying to maintain this look, this idea, while internally things are feeling very shaky. The hand that was resting on the pentacles before, when the figure is upright, is now almost pushing them into the ground, holding them there lest they fall. When this card's reversed, there's a real fear about status and kind of keeping up appearances. If people don't perceive me in this certain way, as maybe I have been this certain way for so long and things are starting to change, what does that make me? Who does that make me? Traditionally, upside down, this card is also a card of kind of debt, financial loss, and struggles in that area. Then finally, we have our last one, the 10 of Pentacles. The 10 is completion. It's that full circle moment, that ending before something new starts, before a new beginning. What are the main elements of this card? So we have a family. We've got 3 different generations here. You've got the elderly figure in this great finery out in front. You can see by the white hair. The 2 figures in the middle distance seem to be 2 adults, possibly a man and a woman. You can't really tell, but they look roughly of the same age. And then off into the corner behind the dogs, you've got a small child. So this is generational. We've got the dogs kind of at rest, playful, looking up. Dogs in tarot are often a symbol of honor and loyalty and devotion. And they're in this beautiful place. Maybe they're walking into a large town. Maybe this is their own estate, but it is a place of opulence and wealth. All of these buildings appear to be made of stone, which talks about security. So what's the nuance of this card? So we've mentioned a few bits already, but let's go back to the building quickly. When the building's all made of stone, we are doubling down on that earth element that we're in. We're talking about home life, wealth, health, but stability and our relationship to it. It talks about permanence and longevity. The 3 different generations of figures talk about an ongoingness, kind of going back to the 2 of Pentacles, that kind of ebb and flow, but this talks about something ongoing. We've got 10 Pentacles and they are spaced out in a way that almost completely fills up the card, and that's what it talks about, abundance here. The figure out in front is very richly clothed, so this is the person that put in the bulk of the work in the card, and it's the generations that are benefiting from it. Questions. What did it take to get here? Where are these figures going? Is this their own home? Is it this beautifully opulent home? Are they walking into a town? Are they on a trip together? What are their relationships with each other like? Upright, this card is legacy. This is building something that outlasts you. It's using your abundance and your care to look after other people. The type of providing that comes from the 10 of Pentacles is that I have suffered from this, so I want to make sure other people don't. There's a real selflessness in and around your protection and why you feel that protective. With the 10 of Pentacles, it can be, yes, it could be a big grand project. It could be charity, but it can also be in the way you treat others in a way that creates a ripple effect. So treating someone with kindness so that they treat someone else with kindness, that is also a legacy. That is also a lasting effect. When this is reversed, it talks about conflict. So you have these resources. This figure in front has all of these resources. Maybe it's within work or family or home or health, but it's pressure to use your resources in one way or another. The way that you've gained them doesn't matter to these people, but there's pressure in what way to use it. So your resources are money. Maybe you're being pressured to give money in a certain way or use your money in a certain way. Resources of time. Maybe you're being pressured to take on an extra project, an extra commitment. Resources in your health. People relying on you possibly too much or taking advantage of you because maybe you seemingly have more time. Maybe people don't value what you're actually doing. That's where conflict arises. You are viewed to have a resource and pressured to use it in a certain way. Let's look at the 10 of Pentacles from the Murder of Crows Tarot. I showed you this before. I do love this deck. This is a very interesting deck. It's very heavy, very contrasty. Like a legacy, it seems like to be a whole nest of crows. They seem to be actually building a nest at the bottom and flying all together out at the top. So while this might seem a lot darker, it is still abundance and family because they are working together to build the nest, to use the resources. What the kind of slightly ominous part of this deck is the crows at the top. Are they part of the family? Or are they those outside forces trying to take what you have? When we compare the 10 of Pentacles in each of these cards, with one, you do get a feeling of softness, and with one, you get a slight more feeling of fear that something's going to be taken from you. Okay, I did throw a lot at you. I threw a lot at me too. So let's try and summarize the cards, just like we did last time. The ace upright is potential. Reversed is stress or strain. The 2 upright is cycles, and reversed is slipping. The 3 upright is collaboration, and reversed is ego. The 4 upright is stability, and reversed is materialism. The 5 upright is struggle, reversed is new motivation. The 6 upright is charity, and reversed is superiority. 7 upright is prosperity, and reversed is questioning. The 8 upright is hard work, and reversed is no reward. The 9 upright is beauty and abundance. Reversed is vanity. The 10 upright is legacy. The reversed is conflict. When we look at all of the pentacles together, we see different aspects of how they relate to each other. We can see consequences. We can see links between all of the other pentacles. Nothing exists in isolation. And it tells us how easily we can go from one extreme to another. Homework. Last week your homework was to sit with the swords. This week it's to sit with the pentacles. If you can, each day, if not, just a couple times this week, either randomly draw or purposefully pick one of the pentacles. You're going to ask yourself one of 3 questions and then see how you can link that pentacle to that question. If you are doing this more, you can ask more questions and you can find other links. It's up to you, but 3 is a good starting point. When do I feel most fulfilled? What does stability mean to me? What am I afraid of losing? Bonus homework. So last week I gave you an extra activity to embody an element, should you choose to, and that was cloud gazing, to embody the element of air and see what your mind is doing. This week, for Earth, I would like you to plant a seed of some form. I would recommend either calendula, chamomile, or violets. Something that is going to flower so that you can start watching cycles happen. This is a slower task. This is one that's going to take dedication and perseverance, but you can embody and meditate on the element of Earth through tending to a seedling and watching it grow. You have done really well to get through another week and another whole suit of cards. Next week we are going to be moving through our fiery wands and looking to the 1 to 10 pip cards of that suit. So you've done really well to get through another week. 8 weeks, that is 2 whole months of tarot learning. You are doing really well to keep going. Make sure to comment and let me know how your studies are going 2 months in. And I'll see you next week for another step in your year of tarot. Have a lovely rest of the day wherever you are. Bye guys. Okay. This is going to be fine. She tells herself. My battery light is blinking and I am worried. Pip cards of the deck of Earth. No, we're not, because it's a suit. Oh no. I almost deleted